going on, everyone? So for today's recipe, I'm super excited. This is going to be a delicious beef stew with flavors that incorporate Mexican cuisine and Jamaican cuisine. I am very excited to do this, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's make this Mexican-Jamaican beef stew.
All right, this is a very easy recipe to make, and so we're going to kick it off with starting with our whole purple onion, red onion, purple onion, whatever you want to call it. You want to dice that up and then transfer it to a bowl set aside for later in the cooking process. After that, I've got 2 poblano peppers here, which I'm going to slice down and then dice each of them. Now, a lot of people like to remove the inner lining of the peppers, which you can do, and I show you how to do it right here. Just real carefully, just take your knife and just kind of graze across that surface. Then I'm going to move on to our tomatoes, which are going to be added much later in the process. I'm using 2 tomatoes here. You can use more in the stew if you'd like. It's your recipe, and please feel empowered to do so. You want to make it taste as good as you want it to taste. Now let's move on to our meat. I've got about 2.5 pounds of skirt steak here, and I'm showing you that the grain pretty much runs up and down the video here. So we want to cut against the grain, and you'll know you're cutting against the grain, 1, by noticing the fibers, where they run and going against that, and 2, you'll see all the intermuscular fat and everything once you cut it that way. So I'm going to dice these up here, and these are going to be put in later on in the stew. I'm going to sear them first, and then I'm going to start introducing them to the stew overall. The seasoning for the stew meat is very straightforward. I'm going to start off with some kosher salt here, and I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, and then a lot of pepper. If you've watched my other videos, you know I like a lot of pepper, so I can tell you maybe this is 4 tablespoons of pepper, but salt and pepper to taste. I like a lot of pepper. And then give it a good quick mix. Now in my Dutch oven, I've got some heated oil. This is on about medium heat, and I'm going to add in the peppers and the onion, and I'm going to give those a quick mix. I want to give them a nice saute. You can get them a little dark if you want to, and if you want to use a crock pot, please feel free to do so, or an Instant Pot, whatever you have, go for it. Once everything is where you want it, go ahead and transition everything into a bowl. We're going to introduce them much later in the process. Now it's time to sear our meat. So you want to sear as many sides as you can. Just 2 sides is just perfectly fine. So I'm dropping these in here, and I want to get a good sear on all the sides I can, and then I'm going to transfer those again into a bowl. And I should note, if you have any extra meat and you're like myself, a dog lover, you can go ahead and give a little treat to one of your dogs, or any of your dogs if your vet allows it. One of my pups was in the hospital, unfortunately, at this time, but, you know, Athena got a nice little treat. All right, now one of my favorite parts, all this at the bottom is the fond. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add in our peppers, our onions, our steak here, and then I'm going to add about 8 cloves of garlic. I use a lot of garlic, so it's up to you. I mean, if you want to use about 3 to 4, that is perfectly fine for this recipe. It's up to you. It's up to your taste. But I'm going to add that in here, and I'm going to start giving it a quick mix, getting a good sear, and then add in some seasonings. This is about just over a tablespoon of allspice. This is going to give it that real good Jamaican feel. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start adding in some paprika here. This is smoked paprika, and I'm using about 2 tablespoons of that, like 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. Then some Mexican oregano. You don't have to use Mexican oregano. I prefer it over regular, but if you have regular, go for it. It works just as fine. And then, unfortunately, my least liked ingredient, which is cumin. I'm adding just a tiny bit of cumin here. I'm not a big fan of it. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead on the side, and I'm going to start working my chipotle sauce. So I've got canned chipotle chilies here and adobo sauce. I'm going to add in a whole can. You can find this at your grocer. It's really easy to find, and it's very affordable. I keep a lot on hand for recipes. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in about half a cup of beef broth, and give this a good blend on high. I'm going to add this to the stew later in the process. All right, everything's heated up pretty well here, and we see all that fond down at the bottom. This is how we get it up. I'm gonna add in some beef broth here, start working it through. This is still on about medium to high heat, not too high. It's about, I would say, medium at best. And I'm gonna keep working that fond at the bottom, just heating this up, scraping it from the bottom, and it gives it such a good flavor in the long run. And if you want to know how much beef broth I'm using about an entire container to maybe a container and a quarter of beef broth. So that's just over 2 cups, 3 cups of beef broth total. But I play it by ear to make sure I don't get too much liquid in the stew overall. All right, now we want to go ahead and add in that chipotle peppers that we blended up with, those chipotle peppers we blended up with the beef broth. So I want to go ahead and put that in there and get this to a nice boil. And we're going to add in some tomato paste soon too. I'm using about a whole can of tomato paste. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our tomatoes that we chopped up earlier. Let's not forget about them. Let's let them join the party. All right, now that I have this at a boil, I want to go ahead and cover this. You can put this on simmer if you want. And I'm going to add in a habanero because I have no Scotch bonnets where I'm at least that I can find. And a habanero is the best choice. If you don't like a lot of heat, definitely do not do this. And if you do like heat, be careful. Add them as you go and keep tasting because they creep up. I like to let this simmer for maybe about 15-20 minutes, and then I plate it over some nice white rice.
All right, here we are. We got our dish here. Looks freaking awesome. I can't wait. Smells so good. It's got that smoky smell and like all those nice flavors like the allspice and everything. This is going to be really good. So I'm going to take a bite. Some rice. That is so good. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like I can't name it right now. Chili Colorado. Kind of reminds me of Chili Colorado. Oh, this is good. This is perfect for like winter. Mmm. All right, this one's done. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Definitely helps me out. And please like, comment on the channel. I'd love to hear any type of recipes you'd like me to make. I'll definitely try to do so. And yeah, thank you. So let's keep cooking.